Welcome back. Welcome back once again. We were doing the chapter Rights from Political Theory. And in this particular chapter, हम लोगों ने rights के बारे में पढ़ना है, not what are the rights. We need to understand why these rights evolved and what are the responsibilities that comes along with. As I was when I was completing the last session, I told you that no right can be complete without responsibilities. तो जो लास्ट के जो हमारे दो सेशंस थे, one was the summarizing session, and the last we had read what are rights, the justifiable claims, and then how over the period these rights evolved, and why do the states need to intervene while it is the rights तो हमारे हैं. And it has been said कि बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि they are natural, जब हम मतलब कि पैदा होते हमें मिलता है. But what happens is हम पैदा होते हमें rights मिलते हैं, लेकिन उन rights को follow हम तभी करते हैं when there is some guiding authority, and that is why we need the authority, that is the state, जो intervene करता है, इन rights को एक shape देता है. They are called as political, social, economic rights, उनको अलग करता है, and उसके भी dimensions बनाता है कि वो rights को कैसे they can give it to us, how we can acquire them from the environment, from the government, from our society. So this is what. Now, when I was telling you, आपको मैं consumer protection का बता रही थी last class में, so this is one of the example. As you can expect any pictorial question, so this is an example. My father had applied for a telephone connection. It has been over 2 months and he still hasn't got it. What can he do? This is actually an old example. आजकल हम MTNL के connections hardly करते हैं, and even they are even मतलब कि हम लोगों को immediately मिल भी जाता है. So you know what? We have the right to information. We can find out the status of his application as well as the cause for the delay. That is where your rights जो है वो आते हैं. This is how we need to use it. But कब? How? These are legal rights where states need to intervene. So this is what we have studied till now. You can see which of the following rights granted to groups or communities are justifiable. Jain community in a town sets up its own school and enrolls students only from its community. So you cannot say that they are justifiable. They are rights. ठीक है, जैन कम्युनिटी को अपने स्कूल सेटअप करने का अंडर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन स्पेशल एक्ट, मतलब नॉर्मली द गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट इंटरवेन इनटू द religious matters, communal matters, still they allow just to empower them. But enrolling students only from its own community जो होता है, you cannot justify it. For example, in Delhi also, I know there are Sikh community schools, Christian minority schools. They are there, and majority is given to those children, but there are general people also. Purchase of land and property in Himachal is restricted who are residents in that state. This is like आपका जम्मू कश्मीर में था, a special act that was only to protect the shrine of that particular state. So yahan par again it is not justifiable. The principal of a co-ed college issued a circular that no girl should wear any western dress. So again they are not justifiable because wearing the outfits is our own right. Yes, next is whether it is justifiable or not, वो आपको, जैसे उस दिन मैंने आपको यूनिफॉर्म का एक एग्जाम्पल दिया था व्हाइल आई वाज टेकिंग दिस क्लास, कि जब हम यूनिफॉर्म बोलते हैं तो डेफिनेटली यूनिफॉर्म क्यों दिया जाता है? दिस इज बिकॉज वी डोंट वांट टू डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन पीपल अमंग डिफरेंट चिल्ड्रन. Some might be very rich, some might be very poor, some might be wearing some higher quality, some might not be, और उसको differentiate ना करने के लिए यूनिफॉर्म होता है. Moreover, it also protects us from several other anti-social elements. तो ड्रेस, वेस्टर्न ड्रेस जो है वो नहीं पहनना, दैट इज एक्चुअली द वायोलेशन ऑफ राइट्स. दैट्स अ कंप्लीट वायोलेशन. हाँ, ड्रेस को किस तरीके से पहनना है, वेस्टर्न ड्रेस पहनना तो व्हाट शुड बी द आउटफिट इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. हमारे आई टेल यू इन द स्कूल वेयर आई टॉट आल्सो, वी यूज्ड टू हैव दिस काइंड ऑफ कंस्ट्रेंट्स. बट अगर हम उस कंस्ट्रेंट को मन से लेते हैं तो वो राइट है, लेकिन अगर वो हम पर थोपा जाता है तो वो रॉन्ग है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इन आवर स्कूल टीचर्स वर नॉट अलाउड टू वियर सलवार कमीज. तो उसके पीछे जो उन्होंने हमें जस्टिफिकेशन दिया था हमारे प्रिंसिपल मैम ने, दैट यू लुक वेरी बहनजी टाइप एंड यू शुड लुक लाइक अ टीचर. So you wear sari, you wear western outfits which suits your body, but it should not be, but ठीक है, if you want to wear suit, you wear it once in a while. So we were given those options also. A panchayat in Haryana decided that the boy and girl from different caste who married each other will not be allowed to live in the village. And this is very common in Haryana, which is called as honor. वहां पर ऐसे ऑनर के लिए, तो अगेन इट इज डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ऑन द बेस ऑफ कास्ट. So it is not justifiable. Both of them are, if both of them are marital age, जिसको हम हिंदी में बालिग बोलते हैं, if they are able, if they have the right to choose their life partner. So this is how somewhere, और ये सब जो है ना, these are all the real life examples. ये ऐसा नहीं है कि these are only questions. These are actual. These are actual. In most of the UP schools, we don't have the, मतलब कि आजकल तो वैसे भी even in the public schools also सूट ही पहनने के लिए बोला जाता है. Even in most of the UP professional colleges, we don't, the girls don't wear dress. They have the code. Only in some of the, मतलब कि हम बोलते हैं ना elite, उनको छोड़कर maximum they have come for a uniform code. और उसके पीछे जो वजह उन्होंने बोला है, जो उन्होंने जस्टिफिकेशन दिया है, एंड दैट इज दैट की people are misusing their rights. So they have put that constraint. Now, to what we call as conclude. राइट्स हमारे कभी भी बिना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के नहीं होते. अगर आप घर में कहते हो कि मेरा राइट है टीवी देखने का, तो टीवी को बंद करके रिमोट को अंदर रखना आपकी ड्यूटी होनी चाहिए. नो राइट्स शुड बी विदाउट एनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, क्योंकि जब तक आप उसके ऊपर कोई कंस्ट्रेन नहीं डालते, उसके साथ कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं डालोगे, वो राइट्स आपके जस्टिफिएबल नहीं रहेंगे. अभी जैसे मैंने आपको एक ड्रेस का ही बताया कि ठीक है, वेस्टर्न ड्रेस पहनो, लेकिन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी होनी चाहिए. Rights not only place obligation upon the state to act in a certain way, for instance, to ensure sustainable development, but they also place some obligation upon us. There are so many instances जहां पर अब government has enacted कि अगर आप पेड़ों को काटते हो, if you are cutting the trees, then not as a penalty, but as a part of sustainable development, as a part of corporate social responsibility, you need to plant equally. आपको 20 times ज़्यादा trees आपको plant करना चाहिए. Many of the companies which are dealing where they need the wood, जहां उनको timber की जरूरत पड़ती है, it's obvious. So they have to, उनको देना पड़ता है या फिर they have to plant themselves. So that is where the responsibility comes. आप पेड़ काट रहे हो, आपकी right है because you are a manufacturer. But आपकी responsibility है कि आप forest को grow करो. So what are those reasons for the responsibilities? You can expect this as a 4-marker question. मतलब आप एक long question में इसको expect कर सकते हो. Firstly, they compel us to think not just of our personal needs and interests, but to defend some things being good for all of us. Protecting the ozone layer, minimizing air and water pollution, maintaining the green cover by planting new trees, preventing cutting down, maintaining the ecological are essential for all of us. That means that is a common good that we must act to protect for ourselves and for the future generation. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर आपका राइट है तो आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. राइट आपका है लेकिन यू नीड टू प्रोटेक्ट द राइट्स ऑफ अदर्स ऑल्सो. एक पेड़ काटने से आपका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग चल रहा है लेकिन हो सकता है कि दैट मे बी हार्म टू द नेचर, दैट मे बी हार्म टू अदर्स. So we need to protect everyone. Secondly, they require that I respect the rights of others. If I say I must be given the right to express my views, I must also grant the same to others. बहुत लंबा चौड़ा इसके ऊपर का ही मतलब what we call as आजकल तो खैर बहुत in another word I can say it, everything has become, you know, we have been violating. In fact, we have been violating. In another words, if you ask me personally, I'll say हम लोग right to information या फिर right to expression के नाम पर जो है हम लोग सिर्फ violate करते, which is actually incorrect. अपने आप को express करना कभी गलत नहीं है लेकिन दूसरों की ना सुनना, that is wrong. Hurting other sentiments is wrong. If I do not want others to interfere in the choices I make, the dress I wear or the music I listen, I must refrain from interfering in the choices the others make. और आपने अपने घर में भी, घर का मतलब not your immediate family, means you must have seen such kind of, you know, interference. People may wear whatever, but they would be pointing others, which is actually not right. Which is actually not right. But I don't know about all of you, but I know about my, मतलब कई ऐसी चीजें मैंने देखी हैं. The society where I live is very good. I never have faced anything. Neither here nor where I was staying before. कहीं नहीं मुझे कभी नहीं होता था. Even in the school where I taught, never I have been, you know, heard such comments. But yes, across people, when I talk to someone, they tell us why they are wearing this thing, why they are. See, that is their own choice. That is their own choice. If you are wearing sari because it suits you, you like it, wear it. बहुत अच्छी बात है. But don't ask others to wear. लेकिन ये एक टॉपिक ऐसा है जो मुझे लगता है कि never ending है. But that is actually our responsibility not to poke our nose if we do not want others to poke. I must refrain. I must leave them free to choose their music and clothes. I cannot use a right to free speech to incite a crowd to kill my neighbor. In exercising my rights, I cannot deprive others of their rights. My rights are, in other words, limited by the principle of equal and same rights for all, which is actually very, very, very important class. मतलब कि ये ना आपके पेपर में explain करने को भी आता है. And I think this is there in one of the other chapter also. मतलब सबके लिए equal है भाई. If I like a color, ठीक है. But अगर आपको वो कलर पसंद नहीं तो you should not point out to me. On the other hand, it is also mine कि अगर मुझे दूसरा कलर पसंद नहीं तो I should not point out others. That is respecting each other. And कई बार इसके ऊपर इतने डिबेट्स हुए हैं, पॉलिटिकल एंड अदर वे, जहां पे राइट टू स्पीच के नाम पर लोग कुछ भी बोल देते हैं, राइट टू एक्सप्रेशन के नाम पे कुछ भी बोल देते हैं, देन दे से कि दिस इज आवर राइट, वी हैव स्पेड व्हाट वी वांटेड टू टेल. The recent controversy over the very famous movie is also going on the same topic. One hand, people are saying that it is a matlab ki it's a right to express because it's a creativity. On other way, people are saying that you are not supposed to express certain things which are misogynic. तो वो जो ये जो डिबेट है ना, दिस विल ऑलवेज गो. ये डिबेट हमेशा जाएगा जब तक हम खुद नहीं समझेंगे. one portion people say it is misogynic, you should not, मतलब कि rights के नाम पर you should not show trash. On another way, the people are saying, so that means somewhere कोई ऐसा होना चाहिए जिसको इस डिबेट को पूरा करना चाहिए. See this cartoon. Did you see the latest sting operation on TV yesterday? Sting operation होता है जब आप चोरी छुपे किसी के ऊपर जो है कैमरा लगाकर उनके मूवमेंट्स को चेक करते हो और उनका. I couldn't believe the conversation between the hotshot official and the famous actress. So, what it has been said, Nietzsche, that was cheap sensationalism. Besides, it was an infringement of their right to privacy. Yes. In South Africa, nobody can, nobody can, जो ये हमारे यहाँ पर होता है कि टैप किया जाता है किसी का फोन, that cannot be done. मतलब even the police, they cannot do it. They cannot do it in South Africa. In our country, it is very common. बहुत common है. There was one, ऐसे कई ऐसे हुए थे जिनमें ऐसा मतलब स्कैम किया गया जिसके अंदर स्टिंग ऑपरेशंस किए गए थे. Sting operation should be done only when you feel that the operation is very important for the security of the nation, something which is going to hurt something, but it is not for the common things. अब देखो आप भी इंसान हो. You might be speaking something about someone, you might be expressing something about someone. अगर हम इन सब चीजों का स्ट्रिंग बनाने लग गए तो क्या होगा? Everyone has the right. किसी के पर्सनल लाइफ में घुस जाना, किसी की लाइफ के बारे में मजाक बनाना. Thirdly, we must balance our rights when they come into conflict. For example, my right to freedom expression allows me to take pictures. I had given you this, जब मैंने summarize करवाया था, तो I gave you the, I think, the example of Virat Kohli and one more celebrity. I think it was, I don't remember, it was one of the famous, I think Shah Rukh Khan. However, I take pictures of a person bathing in his house without his consent and post them on the internet. That would be a violation of his right to privacy. There was one, अभी recently हुआ था, ये अभी last just 3-4 months back ही हुआ था, when Kohli was in Australia and someone had peeped into his room and they had, मतलब तो उसके ऊपर काफी on the Twitter and all, there were lots of news that it was infringement of his right to privacy. ठीक है, he is celebrity. Everyone loves celebrity. Everyone, even I like to, मतलब मेरे को अगर कोई बोलेगा कि हाँ भाई आपको एक दिन बॉम्बे में क्या करना है, डेफिनेटली वांट दैट कि मैं एक सेलिब्रिटी का घर अंदर से देखूं. हाउ डू दे लुक, हाउ डू दे वर्क, हाउ डू दे लिव. इट्स that's a, you know what we say, childish desire. एंड किसी सेलिब्रिटी के साथ फोटो लेना अच्छा लगता है, no, that's a status. लेकिन if someone doesn't like, we must not. एंड कई बार इस चीज के ऊपर काफी डिबेट हुआ था. अभी recently there was a debate on the same topic that one of the celebrity was coming out of the this airport and some of the people were trying to push him and take the photo. उसने push कर दिया and there were lots of ह्यूज एंड क्राइज. बहुत सारे लोगों ने शोर मचाया कि देखो कितना बदतमीज है, एरोगेंट है, ये है वो. भाई आप एरोगेंट बोलते हो, उसकी मर्जी नहीं खिंचवाना भाई फोटो. मैं सेलिब्रिटी नहीं हूं बट मुझे फोटो खिंचवाना बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद है. I like फोटो खिंचवाना बहुत कम. So, and post it on the internet. Maybe he doesn't like it. He or she means. The same happened, as I said, with one of the other celebrity also. उनके घर के अंदर की photos खींच रहे हो आप. खींचो if they give you the permission. If they have the consent. If they don't feel anything awkward. Fourthly, citizens must be vigilant about the limitations which may be placed on their rights. A currently debated topic concerns the increased restrictions with many governments are imposing on the civil liberties of citizens on the grounds of national security. जैसे मतलब कि एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो सी कि जैसा जैसा हम अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करने की बात करते हैं उतना ही हमारा इंफ्रिंजमेंट भी हो रहा है. प्रोटेक्टिंग नेशनल सिक्योरिटी मे बी डिफेंडेड as necessary for safeguarding the rights and well-beings of citizens. अगर हमारे ऊपर गवर्नमेंट किसी राइट को ना यूज करना या उसे लिमिट में यूज करने को बोलता है तो व्हाट डू यू सजेस्ट? इज राइट. अगर वो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के लिए है, अब नेशनल सिक्योरिटी में तो हमारा ही सिक्योरिटी है ना. But at what point could the restrictions imposed as necessary for security become a threat to the rights of people? Should a country facing the threat of terrorist bombings be allowed to curtail the liberty of citizens? Should it be allowed to arrest people? ये जो तीन questions है ना, these are the questions which you will be reading in class 12th in the chapter national emergency. ये तीनों क्वेश्चंस हैं उसमें, तीनों. Should it be allowed to arrest people on mere suspicion? Preventive detention. Should it be allowed to intercept their mail or tap their phones? जो अभी आपको मैंने बताया. Should it be allowed to use torture to extract confession? Third degree treatment. So, as I said, this is there in your वो उसमें कि इन राइट्स के ऊपर लोगों ने क्वेश्चंस उठाए थे. Should a country facing the threat of terrorist bombing allow the curtain? Yes, it can do it. आजकल आपको पता है व्हाट्सएप मैसेजेस पर थिंग्स जस्ट सर्कुलेट विद इन सेकेंड्स एंड 90% ऑफ देम आर फेक. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि अगर गवर्नमेंट उन फेक को नहीं डालेगी तो देन व्हाट विल हैपन? इट मे क्रिएट पैनिक. तो उसमें कर्टेल करना जरूरी हो जाता है. जब उनको लग रहा है, उनके पास कोई न्यूज आया है कि देयर माइट बी पॉसिबल टेररिज्म मतलब टेररिस्ट अटैक, तो वो हो सकता है कि हमारे फोन्स को बंद करें. आपने देखा होगा जब मतलब कि जब कोई भी ऐसा वायलेंस होता है, स्पेसिफिकली इट वाज देयर इन दिल्ली इन 2019, देन इट वाज इन दिस मुजफ्फरनगर इन यूपी. उस वक्त में इंटरनेट बंद कर दिया गया था. Even in Jammu Kashmir it happened, in this Arunachal Pradesh it happened, Mizoram it happened. तो आपका वहां पर इंटरनेट क्यों बंद किया जाता? Why it is done? That is because that may spread fake messages, or maybe it is spreading. Should it be allowed to arrest people on mere suspicion? ये हमारा second question है. और ये सेकेंड क्वेश्चन जो है, एज आई सेड, इट इज ऑन द नेशनल इमरजेंसी में चैप्टर है जिसको हम कहते हैं प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन. तो यस, इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वी हैव दिस प्रोविजन. हमारे यहाँ पर ये प्रोविजन है दैट अगर उनको लगता है that particular group, particular person, particular people may be a threat, ये लोग थ्रेट हो सकते हैं, तो उनको प्रिवेंशन के लिए, मतलब ऑन द ग्राउंड्स ऑफ नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, they may be arrested. और ये हमारा जो है अंडर जुडिशियल मतलब कि उसमें है ही प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन बोलते हैं हम एंड दिस इज देयर एंड बस प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आती है व्हेन इन द नेम ऑफ प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन पीपल आर अरेस्टेड विदाउट एनी रीजन प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन के अंदर देयर इज नो ग्रेड ऑफ मल ट्रीटमेंट मिस ट्रीटमेंट नहीं होती है बस कुछ जने हैं उनको लगता है कि एक पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप है विच इज गोइंग टू ट्रबल तो गवर्नमेंट द पुलिस हैज टू अरेस्ट देम पुट इन रिमांड बस उसके आगे उन्हें कुछ नहीं करना होता है ना उनको मारना पीटना होता है ना उन्हें जेल में डालना होता है they are only arrested and kept in the remand for the period they feel they are unsafe. In India, such situation arose during the national emergency. And I was just discussing this thing with my family members. So they were saying कि इतना सारा कुछ हुआ था. So I was just telling कि how this kind of politics came into being and how national emergency मतलब कि इतना ज्यादा हमारे लिए था. तो कि इतना हुआ था. So what happened is during the reign of the so-called prime minister, there were certain things going on. मतलब कई constitutional आपके जो provisions हैं उनको change किया गया था. And at that time, some of the major आपके political parties जो थे, they had formed into one single alliance, and they were actually staging a speech in Ramlila ground in Delhi. मतलब उन लोगों ने सबने रामलीला ग्राउंड में इकट्ठा होने का सोचा था मतलब टू प्रोटेस्ट टेकिंग दिस एज अ थ्रेट टू द लॉ एंड ऑर्डर द देन प्राइम मिनिस्टर उस वक्त में जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर थी शी डिक्लेयर्ड नेशनल इमरजेंसी एंड सम ऑफ दीज लीडर्स वर पुट इनटू जेल ऑन प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन तो ऐसा प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन हर बार होता है कहीं पर भी अगर उनको लगता है कि देयर माइट बी अ पॉसिबल वायलेंस तो दे मे तो इट इज देयर द गवर्नमेंट कैन टेक दिस लेकिन कब लेना है कितने उनके पास कितना एविडेंस है कि वो इस चीज को ले सकते हैं दैट हैज टू बी असेस्ड should it be allowed to intercept their mail or tap their phones अभी मैंने आपको साउथ अफ्रीका का एग्जाम्पल दिया था इन साउथ अफ्रीका अंडर राइट टू privacy nobody can tap the phones or mails in our country encryption and deciphering them is allowed लेकिन उसके लिए you have professional hackers you have professional hackers आपको प्रोफेशनल हैकिंग अगर आप मतलब की हो तब यू आर अलाउड टू इफ यू हैव सीन दैट आई डोंट नो अभी रिसेंटली आई हैड वॉच वन ऑफ द नेटफ्लिक्स सीरीज उसके अंदर दिखाया भी था आई डोंट नो इट इज दैट वन वो जो एक पनडुब्बी के ऊपर है आई डोंट रिमेम्बर दैट ऑन द टैंकर ईशान खट्टर की मूवी so they can tap the phones they can जैसे व्हाट्सएप के मैसेजेस होते हैं वो जब मतलब कि पास होते हैं तो द इंटेलिजेंस एजेंट्स कैन डेफिनेटली टैप देम they can intercept the mail they can find but that is only when they really feel there is a hard threat to them ऐसे छोटी छोटी बातों के लिए नहीं होता है so they have this but there are certain provisions under constitution कि किस एरिया में और कौन उसको कर सकता है who can intercept who can tap there are certain regulations at what level it is done should it be allowed to use torture to extract confession again it is a very controversial topic class 11 क्योंकि टॉर्चर आपको पता है हमारे यहाँ 3rd डिग्री एंड 4th डिग्री पे जाता है मीन्स मारना पीटना एट द लेवल उल्टा लटका देना तो समटाइम्स इट इज कि यस इट शुड बी डन एंड समटाइम्स इट इज कि इफ एन इनोसेंट हैज बीन क्रिमिनलाइज्ड तो वो तो फिर दबाव में ही कन्फेशन करता है. So these are the situations where rights can be infringed by the state. The government may put some restrictions, some constraints. Sometimes they may use some methods to intercept our rights. ऐसा होता है. In such situations, a question to ask is whether the person concerned poses an imminent threat to society. Even arrested persons should be allowed legal counsel and opportunity to present their case before a magistrate or a court of law. As I said, कि there are certain areas. कब, कहाँ, कौन, इन शब्दों का आपको रियल में मीनिंग पता होना चाहिए. If you are using preventive detention just to protect yourself or your self-interest, then it is not called preventive detention. Preventive detention is when you feel that the person or the group of persons are threat. तो आपको prove करना पड़ेगा. And of course, as per what in our company, हमारे यहाँ पर right to life के अंदर जो है, we have the right कि we can have the legal counsel at all the stages. Even a murderer. We need to be extremely cautious about giving government powers which could be used to curtail the civil liberties of individuals, for such powers can be misused. As I have said, during the national emergency, maybe मेरे बोलने के बाद आपको दो चीजें होंगी. या तो आपको लगेगा 12th में जाना ही नहीं है, दूसरा आपको लगेगा 12th है क्या चीज जो मैम बोलते 12th में ये होता है. ड्यूरिंग द नेशनल इमरजेंसी, when the powers were, क्योंकि जब इमरजेंसी होती है आपके सारे राइट्स, सिविल राइट्स आपके हटा दिए जाते हैं. नेशनल इमरजेंसी का मतलब क्या है? The common people don't have the rights. So at that point, the person doesn't have the right to go to court. And that was a time when there was a debate कि भाई कितना, क्यों. Governments can become authoritarian and undermine the very reason for which governments exist. मतलब they can misuse, they can become tyranny, they can, change the law according to their own. जैसे उस वक्त में हुआ था, आप लोगों ने लास्ट वाले उसमें पढ़ा था ना, इन दी लास्ट वन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वाले में पढ़ा था कि हाउ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वाज अमेंडेड. इट वाज अमेंडेड टू गिव टेन्योर, increase in the tenure of Lok Sabha, which is not possible. Then there was an amendment which said that Prime Minister, Vice President, and President cannot be questioned under law, which was again infringement. क्योंकि हमारा जो preamble है वो तो कहता है कि we the people, so people are above everything. So there is no one called as President or Prime Minister. Hence, even though rights can never be absolute, we need to be vigilant in protecting our rights and those of others, for they form the basis of democratic society. यानी कि जब ऐसा कभी भी कुछ होता है तो हमें हमेशा इस चीज को याद करना चाहिए कि हमारे rights क्या है. And if they are violated at any time, what the lawyers do, what the advocates do, what the civil servants do is this is how they protect. They need to protect करते हैं नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन they need to protect. आज मैं एक I was just मैंने एक वो पढ़ रही थी under article, I don't know which article was it. It was under article 278 or something. It was there. I was reading some rights only, and I just said ki wow, that's a very good. We must know. It was all about the this paperback. It was all about the paperback. Consumer rights के ऊपर था. तो it was all about कि जो आपके बड़े बड़े brands होते हैं, what they say is when you enter into a mall, when you enter and you are buying the clothes or something, anything, they say आपको bag चाहिए. And if you say yes, they charge 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees आपका charge करते हैं, which is violation of your rights. Under article 278 it is there. And why? अगर उस particular बैग के ऊपर उस कंपनी का या उस ब्रांड का नाम छपा हुआ है, दे कैन नॉट चार्ज अ सिंगल पाई. हाँ, अगर वो खाली बैग है विदाउट एनी नेम, बिल्कुल खाली है, देन दे कैन चार्ज. डू वी नो दीज थिंग्स? So we need to understand that the rights are there, but we need to be vigilant. We need to see when the rights are violated, whether it is violated by a person, by it is violated by a society or by the government also. जैसे अभी आपको मैंने ये जो हम लोगों ने 4 क्वेश्चंस पढ़े थे कि should the government allow us to curtail our liberty? Yes, they can. Should it be allowed to arrest people just on mere suspicion? Yes, there is a provision under preventive detention. Should they be allowed to intercept the mail? Yes, it is there with the defense. They can do it, but there is certain level. Not everyone, not at every level. And ये जो होते हैं, they are not known to the common public. So there is some secrecy maintained, and that is done only to protect the nation. Not just to read those mails. Not just to read those mails. So this is what written on 10th December 1948. The General Assembly of UN adopted and proclaimed this is not the preamble of India. This is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal means which is applied at everywhere, at all situation. Following the historic act, the Assembly called upon the member countries to publicize the declaration and to cause it to be disseminated, displayed, read, and expounded principally in schools and other educational institutions without distinction based on political status of countries or territories. ये बोला गया. What is that? It says, मतलब जो भी UN के उस वक्त में members थे, and India was a founding member. India उसका founding member था UN का. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity of equal and inalienable rights of all members of human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous act. Barbarous means the atrocity. That's specifically here it is pointing out to the world war, which has outraged the conscience of mankind and advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech, belief, freedom from fear, and want has been proclaimed at the highest aspiration. मतलब उनका मानना है कि according to the human rights, humanity is above everything. Dignity, equality is inalienable. सबके लिए है वो. All the member countries have equal. मतलब whether the country is developed, developing, poor, rich, nothing. Whereas it is essential if man is not to be compelled to have recourse at a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by rule of law. मतलब इंसान जो है कब किसी चीज के खिलाफ आवाज उठाता है? When does he do? When it is a last resort. इंसान तभी अपने हाथ में बंदूक उठाएगा जब उसको लगेगा कि there is no other way to rebel against tyranny. यानी कि अगर आप ऐसा नहीं चाहते हो, human rights should be protected by the rule of law. If you do not want your citizens to turn against you, you must protect them. Whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations, because prior to world wars, nations used to fight with each other. Nations used to colonize each other. Nations used to prove their supremacy over each other. वर्ल्ड वार से पहले या तो वो लड़ते झगड़ते थे या फिर वो दूसरों पे कंट्रोल करते थे, या फिर अपने आप को बड़ा बताने की कोशिश करते थे. Whereas the peoples of UN have in the charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of human person and equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standard of life in larger freedom. इसका असर हमारे यहाँ पर in Indian context it was when, मतलब ये जो है, this comes when you are talking about the refugees. वॉर होता है, ठीक है, मतलब ये एक बहुत डिबेटिक टॉपिक है. लड़ाई होती है तो कोई कंट्री जो है पुटिंग सिंपैथी दूसरी कंट्री के लोगों को रेफ्यूजी करके ले लेती है. नाउ दिस इज वेयर यूएन सपोर्ट करता है इस चीज को. हमारे यहाँ पर दिस दिस मतलब कि ये वाला जो डिबेट है काफी चला था. एंड दिस इज बिकॉज as a UN principle, we have protected them. We have protected the rights of men and women जो कि वॉर के अंदर या वॉर के दौरान परेशान हुए हैं. Whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve in cooperation with UN the promotion of universal respect and observance of human rights and fundamental freedom. और इसी जो ये जो हमारा मतलब कि यूएन का चार्टर था, इसी को वायलेट किया था यूएस ने when they had arrested 600 people from the South Asian countries on the ground that they are involved in the attack of the World Trade Center. That is आपका जो जिसको हम लोग जो है सितंबर अटैक बोलते हैं. This was the violation. On any ground, no other country can arrest the people of other country. It has to go through Interpol. आपको इंटरपोल के थ्रू जाना होता है, लेकिन उन्होंने किया था. So that is where the violation was there. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for their rights, freedom, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure universal and effective recognition and observation. मतलब this was a pledge taken by everyone कि through education, जैसे आप लोग पढ़ रहे हो political science, जो लोग पॉलिटिकल साइंस पढ़ते हैं, लॉ पढ़ते हैं, या फिर आगे जाकर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पढ़ते हैं, उनके लिए दिस बिकम्स वन ऑफ देयर प्लेज कि दे हैव टू प्रमोट दिस अपने अंदर भी, अपनी सोसाइटी में भी. अपनी सोसाइटी का मतलब जहां आप रह रहे हो, उस धरती पर, उस देश पर और उसके आसपास पर सारे मेंबर्स जो हैं, they should always promote one thing, and what we call above all is that no one has the right to stand above God. There are some rights which are universal, which are very important, and these universal rights हर गवर्नमेंट ने अपने अपने तरीके से अपने सिटीजन्स को दिया है, जिनको हम बिल ऑफ राइट्स में लेकर आते हैं. एंड दिस चार्टर ऑफ बिल ऑफ राइट्स हम लोगों ने इंडिया में लिया था फ्रॉम यूएस. हमने लिया था फ्रॉम यूएस. सो दिस इज हाउ राइट्स, उसका एवोल्यूशन. देन व्हाट आर दोस 3 बेसिक राइट्स, दैट इज पॉलिटिकल, सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक. उसको कैसे गवर्नमेंट जो है आगे बढ़ाती है. इन आवर कंट्री वी हैव ऑल्सो उसको हमने और भी एक्सटेंड किया है with the principles of directive principle of state policy. And then when what are the situations when the state यानी कि गवर्नमेंट कैन पुट अ कंस्ट्रेंट, और कितना कर सकता है. दैट इज बिकॉज rights are not complete if there are no responsibilities. So there are certain responsibilities also. Certain times we need to put certain constraint also. And of course, the debate on many of these topics goes on. If you are very active, then you may be seeing all these things on the news. अगर न्यूज चैनल में काफी आते रहते हैं. At some time it is said it is infringement, at other time it is said freedom. फ्रीडम किसको कहते हैं और फ्रीडम कितना होना चाहिए, दैट इज द क्वेश्चन. सो दैट इज, हम पॉलिटिकल थियरी में क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एट वर्क में हमने उन राइट्स के नेम पढ़े हैं. उनको हमने राइट टू इक्वालिटी बोला है, राइट टू फ्रीडम बोला है. फ्रीडम के अंदर भी आपके अलग अलग फ्रीडम है. तो ये आपका है कि इवॉल्व क्यों हुआ था और उसको हमने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कैसे और क्यों हमने उसको इम्प्लीमेंट किया था. मीन व्हाट इज द थियरी बिहाइंड दिस वर्ड. So that is the chapter, rights. With this chapter is complete.